Well, I've arrived out in a place that I like to be, only to find out that the windstorm has brought down another tree right across where I camp, actually. So I'm going to have to cut a little path through there. Yeah, in one of my earlier videos, see the tree split off the bottom there. I said that comes as nature's ready split firewood. So here I have some ready split. That'll be my fire pit. Although all the rocks are frozen at the moment, it doesn't really matter because I just built a fire on top of it. I managed to loosen those little ones up on the side, but that's okay. Just cut out a nice log there. Going to cut that one up into 3 because I'm going to do a little video on basically fires. How to get the best out of a fire, how to make the worst out of a fire, and how to burn through your firewood really fast. So there's ways of making the same amount of wood last much longer and give you just as much heat towards you rather than just going up in the air. So right, I'm going to get some of this all chopped up. I'm going to sort out somewhere to sit, my ever trusty coat, and then I'll get back to you. Well, I've set up here a little seating area here for keeping off the snow. I'm going to build a little fire in there. I've cut up 3 logs, not the best of firewood, however. If I use really good fresh wood, I will be here literally all day. I plan to be here until the sun is about up there, and at the moment it's over there, so it looks like I might get a little bit of blue sky. So I'm going to set up and build a fire in the middle of here. I'm going to collect a little bit of kindling and cut some up, and then we'll get this show on the road. Well, started off with the easiest fire to make, which of course, oh look at that blue sky, is the typical teepee fire. It's easy to start, gets going very quickly, generates a lot of heat very quickly, and more importantly, it'll build me up a good bed of coals for what I'm going to do with it next. What I'm going to do is just keep piling it up a bit, defrost some of these rocks that I've got under here, and once I've got a good pile of ashes, I'm going to use these 3 logs to build a typical long log fire configuration. See, this kind of fire, it gets going really quickly, but most of your heat's going up. Most of this heat is here, it's not here. Yeah, but lighting a fire this way is purely just to get a big pile of embers going, a lot of ash, a lot of quick heat, and go from there. This one's not going to break. The wood is fairly wet at the moment because, as you can see, it's snowed. Literally coming into this area, some of the snow was literally just below my knees. So yeah, it's an interesting walk. Right, so I'm going to let that build up some good embers there, and then we go from there. Oh, what a beautiful blue sky day it's turning into. Can't go around too far that way because the sun's over there. That's the new tree that's down. I've just had a bunch of wood off the bottom of that. Nature's ready split firewood. You know the big pieces there? That's what's off the bottom of the trunk where it all split out. Yeah. Now I've got the fire going. Typical teepee. And I'm just going to let it build up a bit of heat there. That'll defrost some of these rocks, and that'll give me the opportunity to move a couple of those because they're not quite where I want them. And those 3 logs can go on there. I've got a nice big bit of fresh in there, a couple of pieces. That'll keep it going for a while. But this older wood, even though it's getting a bit old, it will actually burn for a considerable period of time. Unfortunately, these rocks are not in the configuration that I want them in. So I'm going to warm those up, let them melt. And look at these ones out. These ones actually moved. So that's not bad. They get frozen to the ground this time of the year, so not surprising. So we'll let that melt. Got my chair set up over here, and bear spray is always handy this time of the year because there's a lot on my belt, and they're usually quite groggy and hungry this time of the year, so don't want to end up a bear snack. So always make sure you've got your bear spray with you. Now, as with any fire, I always mention this every time I light a fire. People are probably sick of hearing me say it. However, before you light a fire, make sure you know how you can put it out. And around here at the moment, I ain't too worried about that. That's why I don't mind having a good sized fire in the winter, because there's more snow around here and I know what to do with. So I can just pile that up with snow and that'll be out and done and finished in no time whatsoever. But considering all that wood that's on there was all actually wet wood, a lot of it was covered in snow, it only took me 5, maybe 10 minutes I suppose to get to where we are now. And that's a good self-sustaining fire. There's lots of heat in there, and as soon as I can move those logs over, and once they've burnt through that middle bit there, I will stack these up alongside, see if I can move some of these rocks. If the rocks don't move, it doesn't matter. Look at that. Wind's starting to blow the snow out the trees. That's the only thing this time of the year. Got to be careful touching the trees, because you kick one of these trees, yeah, it'll snow on you pretty good. So, right, let me keep an eye on this a bit, see if I can defrost some of these rocks, and then I'll get back to you. So I've just noticed, just over where I camp, see if I can get down in here without falling over. More importantly, without this tree splitting. See this? Look at this. This tree's actually started to go. And it's going to go straight down that bloody hill, which is a pain in the arse because that's where I collect a lot of my firewood, down there. Either way, if you look down in there, there's loads and loads of down firewood, and it's all it's up off the ground. It's reasonably dry. So I would normally go down in there and collect some, but I'm going to go further up because I don't like the look of that tree. It's not a windy day, so I'm not too worried about it. Beautiful blue sky day, isn't it? Look at this shit. I'll have some of that. Oh yeah. Look at that. If that doesn't make it worth coming out here, I don't know what does. Bit of a slog through the snow, but well worth it. Right, with the progression of the fire, what I've done, I'm going to try and make a good piece of fire. The teepee fire that was in there, I kind of squashed it all together into a long thin bit and laid 2 logs either side. Now, traditional fire, that log will be on the top in a moment. However, if you do it this way, you've got the original heat from the teepee fire, so it gets it going really, really fast. You get a nice quick fire going, and then you can lay 2 logs along the side like this. Unfortunately, the rocks were frozen to the ground and didn't want to move. It was going to be a bit dangerous to try and get them out, so just leave those there, let them dry out. Fire on the top, log either side. That allows those 2 logs to warm up, and I can keep feeding firewood between those 2 logs until there's a bit of embers and that starting to come into the bigger logs, and then I can lay this 3rd log along the top. That gives you a much better distribution of heat from your wood, because it doesn't matter what you do, a piece of wood will only give you a certain amount of heat and a lot of smoke in the face. So if I look at, we're going to set it over here. Right, that's what always comes in handy to have a nice coat. If you take this piece of wood, this is an old piece of pine here or whatever, bit of spruce, something like that, and it's this stuff will burn fairly quick. If you stack it up like this, it'll burn really, really fast because the flame's going to run up it, and you'll get a lot of heat disappearing off the top of the fire, not so much coming sideways. Now, if you lay the same piece of wood down, you're still going to get the same amount of heat come off the piece of wood. A piece of wood can only give you a certain amount of heat, but it's how fast that heat is released from the wood. If you cut it up into really thin bits, it'll release it really fast. If it's a lot thicker and denser, it takes a lot slower. That's why good long logs like this, these ones are only, I don't know, 18 inches, 2 foot longest. But if I cut that same amount of wood up and stacked up as a teepee, it'll burn through really, really fast. If I lay those same amount of wood down like that and build a fire that way, that same amount of wood will burn for hours and hours and hours, give you huge amounts of heat, and but the heat stays more local. If you have a teepee fire, the heat is going straight up. Some is radiated, but laying it down is good. As you can see, the wood's starting to steam on the ends. Let's see if I can get a better picture of that for you. It's a bit of trying to avoid the sunshine here. You can see the wood starting to steam on the end of that one. Now, this is pretty wet wood, I can tell you. To be burning as well as it is, the amount of snow and that on it, it's actually quite impressive. But as you can see, it's starting to steam, and it's not wood that burns, it's actually the wood gas. So you've got to gasify the wood first, you've got to turn it into wood gas, and then it will burn. But in order to do that, it's pretty much got to dry itself out. Once wood gets up to about 260, I think it is, then it'll actually burn nicely. But as you can see, that's starting to dry that out nice. So every now and again, what I'll do is come and add a few more pieces like this down through the middle. That keeps the fire going down through the middle, gets a nice row of embers going up each side, and then once that's up and going, I can stuff that extra log on the top, and hey presto, job done. And you've got a really good long lasting fire then, and you don't have to keep running backwards and forwards trying to find firewood, because if you build a TP fire, you are going to spend most of your day collecting firewood to put on top of the fire. But if you do it this way, it uses the same amount of wood and hardly any trips, so you can actually sit and enjoy it. But I'm certainly enjoying this sunshine, not enjoying the smoke, as it always follows you around, always, always, always. Right, bit of snow up in the trees, so as long as it doesn't get windy, this one here, I like to sit underneath this. This is one of my favourite trees to sit under. And on the walk all the way out here, I was thinking, I hope this tree hasn't fallen over. It's really good, everything hangs in the tree just nicely. Got my ever trusty chair. When I camp, I usually put my tent right about there where the shadow people are. Hello shadow people. I usually put my tent and that right there, or it's easy to build a shelter across here too, because you can go between that tree and across that one, and the wind typically comes from that direction, so it'll blow across the top of this ridge. This is a bit of a ridge. It'll blow across the top of the ridge and hopefully take the smoke that way through the forest over there. However, I need to go down there in a minute. Once this fire gets going, I'll see how much firewood I've got. But there's a whole bunch. Oh, you want right here, I'll show you. There's a whole bunch down in there. See all those downed logs in there? They've been down for a long time. But yeah, that is really good dry firewood now. Yeah. I only cut up what I need. I don't cut up too much. Bit of snow over there. That's literally like 2 feet between those two trees. That's like 2 feet of snow. Fortunately, I only had to wade up the hill over through that way rather than all the way through that lot. But this is a good spot. I like to come out here. It's fairly quiet. Not too many people come out this way. In the summer you might see a few people. In the winter just about never. There's a friend of mine, Eric, that comes up through this way, but he does a lot of trapping and what have you up through here, but I don't see him too often. He's usually up and done and finished and gone back to bed by the time I get up. Right, okay, let me keep an eye on this, make sure that I haven't missed the opportunity to put the top log on. I like to build up some good embers, and it looks like it's starting to burn. Once I've done that, I'll stoke up in the middle of the fire, and then I'll put that log on the top and go from there. Right, and there it is. What I've done is I've just stacked up another load of wood between the two logs that are on the ground, so there's more fuel in there to keep the fire going. I've placed the top log on, got as much snow off the top log as possible. I've put a couple of spaces, as you can see, just to give it a bit of air around there, but I've still got plenty of gap so that I can put more wood in there if I have to. And I don't have any nice green branches, so I had to use some dead ones, so they'll burn through fairly quick, but it doesn't matter, because I can just pick it up and put some more logs and wood inside there. Now that fire, like that, with those 3 logs on it, will burn for a very long time. If I do this with big logs, like really good quality wood logs, logs of that length will last me probably 3 hours, 4 hours. If I use logs like 4 or 5 foot long, that last me 5, 6. The last one I did out the back of the other side of the mountains there, I did one last summer, and that fire burnt on 3 logs for about 6 hours. The logs were better quality than these ones, I must admit. However, this is just for demonstration purposes, so yeah, can't answer that. Right, I have to say, it was supposed to be a cloudy day. Look at this now. This is what you're trudging through. Yeah. This tree, this all split off here. And, as I said in one of my other videos, these are always good places to find fresh cut firewood. Now you've got to be very careful, because this tree hasn't finished falling over yet. If you look, this piece here, that's pretty much, yeah, that's taken a lot of weight, so you don't want to take too much out of there. But if you look inside these pieces, there's lots of nice chunks of wood, super dry, easy to collect. Just be very careful near this end of a tree, because It's split out for a reason, and that reason is it's usually rot as a what's it. So I'm just going to collect up some of this wood. This is really good stuff to stuff inside the gap in the logs there. Look at the snow. Yeah. Oh dear, right. Yes. Eventually, by the end of today, I should have a nice well-trodden path in there. I hope so, because I've got to go back out that way. Right. Oh yeah. See? Beginning to come on quite nicely. Toasty warm. Super nice place to be. Those two that I put under there as spacers will burn through fairly quickly, but look at how fast the other 3 logs are catching. I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. Yeah, so I can always pick it up and put another one under there, but I don't think I'm going to need to. Might need to put some more wood down inside there though. Yeah. Yes. So that is how you build a very simple fire that will last a very long time. Great for cooking too. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, great for cooking too, because you can just slide that top log along and put a pot on there and cook up some lunch and what have you. But today I bought lunch with me, so I don't need to cook anything. It's nice to come out and cook, but it's just extra stuff to carry, and I had enough stuff to carry anyway. Oh, look at the smoke. Yeah. Now the tops fell in. Yeah. See the difference? The smoke is just unburnt fuel, that's all that is. Yeah, it's all the stuff that didn't burn. So if you've got a good flame going, then you don't have any smoke whatsoever. Absolutely none. So I will address that in a second. It sounds like the fire's trying to come up through the gap there. If it does, that'll be brilliant. Go away, Mr. Smoke. Yeah. I have some snacks and what have you in my pack hanging on the tree. Always a good idea to keep the pack up off the ground like that. It's a coat I don't worry about because that's completely waterproof, so that actually makes a very good chair. And I have enough firewood there to keep me going for some time. Oh yeah, I think I will get some more flame under there, because we do have, where are we now, March, yes, in the mountains we do have a fire watch system located on the tops of numerous mountains, and if they see smoke billowing out of somewhere they usually send a plane over, or a helicopter or whatever, just to make sure it's not a forest fire. But so I will distribute this smoke a little bit by creating some more flame, and hopefully nobody on top of a mountain's having a panic attack. Right, let me get that sorted and I'll get back to you. There we go, that's much better. Got some decent flame going in there now. Starting to come up round. Put another piece in the middle. You can just keep topping that up until that burns through. Actually makes a really nice fire. It's actually toasty warm. It's -8 or -10. I got my coat off, sit on that. Don't have my thermal trousers on, I just got my normal trousers on, got my spiky boots on. Need those. Unfortunately, literally the snow was up to here on the way in, just below my knee, so that was kind of a pain. However, since I'm going back out the way I came in, at least I have some holes to tread in on the way out. That's always nice. Makes it a little bit easier. Yeah. Right. Yes. It's actually doing remarkably well. Yeah, just stuffed a piece up in the inside of there. As you can see, self-sustaining fire. Even though this is wet wood, this is all covered in snow. There's not a dry piece here. I'm having to dry it all out as I go. You can see the steam coming off the logs. However, you get a decent fire going, it'll still burn. You still have to keep an eye on the fire this time of the year, because the ground is covered in snow, but up in the canopy of the trees, up in that lot, if you look at this stuff, all this Spanish moss, all this stuff burns. This is like bloody tinder, just poof, just goes like crazy. So you have to be careful with this stuff. Although it is winter, there's a lot of snow on the ground. If a fire was to get up into the canopy in the trees, it'll still burn. You know, a forest fire will still burn this time of the year, no problem whatsoever. So, although it is covered in snow around here, so I'm not too worried. I can put this fire out really quick if I had to. It's 2 feet of snow right there. Always keep an eye on your fire, never wander off. I know people think, oh well, it's snowing, it'll be fine. And then we unfortunately suddenly get these wind bursts that can come out of nowhere around here, We get the Chinooks come through, but we can always get like the little downbursts and that as well. So trust me, you get one of those come through, you can scatter a fire like this pretty quick. So really don't want that to happen. I have been spotted by the jays. I've just spotted a jay over there. He's sneaking up on me through the trees. He's been getting closer and closer. He's in the trees over that way. Now, at the top of that ridge that you can see in the distance, that's another way that I like to come in. But there's a big creek in the bottom here. There goes the jay across that tree. He's slowly coming over. Thinks he's in for something to eat. Got bad news for you, mate. Yeah. There's a creek down the bottom of there, and this time of the year it's frozen solid, so you can actually walk out on that creek. But I don't mind doing that if it was, I don't know, early January and it had been -20, -30 for a while. I don't mind doing that, but this time of the year can be a bit dodgy. Some of that ice can be a bit thin, and you don't want to be out in the middle of nowhere walking on thin ice. Yeah, you get wet, you'll be surprised how quick you can light a fire. If you don't, you're in trouble. I see you, Mr. J. He's just flown up that tree there. Crafty buggers, eh? They got sandwich radar, these things. They can detect a sandwich from like 500 miles. There he goes. Yep. Buggers. Yeah, they don't miss a trick, those things. Whew. Oh yeah, a lot less smoke now. Once these logs dry out, they'll burn through actually pretty fast, because that's some very, very dry wood. Not the best quality of firewood at all. However, I'm not cutting down a perfectly good piece of dead standing just to make us full fire. This was actually laying on the ground in the snow, so this actually hasn't done too bad at all, considering that was soaked in snow. Just found a piece there that can go on there. Nice. Chuck those there. A bit snowy, but the less snow you can put in the fire has to be a good thing. Yeah, the idea is to make it burn, not put it out. Oh yeah. Yeah, these logs are actually going to burn through pretty quick. If I get 2 or 3 hours out of these, I'll be surprised, because they're not overly big logs. Look, it's yeah, probably 3-4 inches maybe, but they'll burn through pretty quick. In the meantime, I've just had something to eat. I do like eat more bars. Eat more bars are very good. You eat one of those, and you suddenly feel like, boop, yep, ready to go. Lots of energy. Yeah. And they're good, because even though it's like -10 and stuff, you can still eat them. You know, if it's -30, you can still eat them things. They're absolutely brilliant. Some foods, like, they get to -30, they're just rock solid. You can't eat them. You know, you can have all the best food in the world, but if you can't actually eat it, it's no good. Yeah. So you want something that, you either have to cook it, which means you've got to get a fire going to defrost it to a temperature that you can actually eat it. But those little bars, doesn't matter whether it's +30 or -30, you can still eat them, and they've got lots of energy in them. So I like to always have those in my pack. I've just had one, and I have to say, it's very nice. Woo! Wind's starting to blow the snow out of the trees. Bugger off. Oh, now I don't know if you can hear that coming. Remember I was saying about the wind can suddenly come out of nowhere? I think we're starting to get a lot of snowfall out of the tree. This is not fresh snowfall. This is just the junk blown out the trees. That's why you have to be careful with a fire. It can literally just suddenly hit like a bloody freight train around here. I can hear it building. Oh, look at that. Isn't that nice? Looks good. Looks like fresh falling snow. It's not. It's just stuff falling on me. Yeah. I forgot to bring my tripod with me earlier. So some of the footage I did earlier, I actually have this double-sided Velcro. And I Velcroed my camera to the tree. But as you can see, there's lots of pine resin on this tree. See this? This stuff's brilliant. I actually put a few pieces of that in the fire to get it going. And he said, there's loads of this laying around. You find it everywhere. You collect up some of that, put that in there. Oh yeah. Doesn't matter if the wood's wet. It'll still burn. Yeah. Yep. Perfect. Right. I'm going to sit and concentrate on this for a little bit. And put some more wood in between there, I think. Well, all I'm missing now is my tea. And I didn't bring my tea with me, because again, I was travelling fairly light today, because I knew the snow was going to be deep, so I didn't want to be lugging loads of gear up in here. So I didn't even bring my tea, which is unusual for me, either way. But it's one extra thing to carry. Fire's coming along nicely now. This sunshine is lovely. I know they said it was good. I think today's high is like -8 or -5, something like that. And but it actually feels lovely. I'm sitting here, it's like summer. Yeah. Because you've got the sunshine, but you've got the heat from the fire as well. So it, as you can see, the embers and that in those logs on the inside there are really coming along nicely. I can still hear it hissing though. Yeah. I've just put another little piece under there that is still wet. The only trouble with this wood is it burns pretty quick once it's dry. So once this wood actually does dry itself right out, it will burn very quickly. Oh, yeah, see that piece has already moved down the back there. Yeah, that's why that's burning like that. I did wonder why it's burning odd. Yeah. Yes. The other thing you've got to be careful of is the rocks. They've been frozen solid all winter. You don't know how much moisture's in those rocks, so you don't want to be heating them too quick. If you heat those too quick, that can be quite dangerous. Yeah. Hot rocks can explode on you, so you have to be a little bit careful. So you heat them slowly, they're fine. Just don't get a roaring fire going and then suddenly decide to pile it up the rocks around it, because that can be dangerous, very dangerous. Yes, wish I had my tea in there now. Trying to find a spot where I can stand where we're not continually getting snowed on. Keep hearing the wind come and go through the trees. But that's why I come out to places like this. Here we go. Now my coat's getting covered in snow. Look. Thanks. Yeah. That's why I come out in places like this. It's absolutely amazing. Great way to spend the day. Some people have to be entertained continuously their entire lives, every day, all day. Me personally, I'd rather come out and do this. And it's funny, as you get older, you value the peace and quiet a little bit more. Just the hiss of the fire and the crackle. Listen to that.